Before we start, we want to emphatically state that Ijaws has no land or any stake whatsoever in Port Harcourt. There is a Supreme Court judgment that clearly affirms this. Welcome to the Ikwerre Social Awareness Forum TV. My name is Butch, the Ikwerrian. Make sure to follow, subscribe, and give us a report. And for those who love what we do and wish to support the page, an account number is displayed up the screen to send your love and support. We saw this video by one Ijaw, Dance and Music.
Port Harcourt was meant to be an only Ijaw city. Today, it was meant to be an only Ijaw city, if not for the benevolence of our Ijaw ancestors. You know, after they went and verified the communities they want to use as a Port Harcourt city in the Ikwerre area, the British, they wanted more lands. They wanted more lands, and so Pacalio went to BBC people and told them, they actually want more land, and so this is what we can offer to them. So if you have any land that you want to sell for the British, so that they can use it for their Port Harcourt city. And it's a win-win because they would make it a city. And so the BBC people agreed and also sold.
You see, when these Ijaws from Delta and Bayelsa, who knows nothing about Rivers State, tries to make problems for their Ijaw brothers in Rivers State, it makes us laugh. So I would want to introduce us to a book. But before we go into the book, I would love us to take a look at this question I posed to ChatGPT. According to the 1981 Supreme Court judgment between the Rebisi Ikwerre and the Ijaws, who owns Port Harcourt, and are Ijaws customary tenants to the Ikwerres? Well, here is the reply. Here is the correct legal position based on the 1981 Supreme Court judgment on Port Harcourt land involving the Rebisi Ikwerre and the Ijaw communities. Ownership of Port Harcourt according to Supreme Court judgment in Chief A.O. Amadi and us v. Chief Isaac Obubula and us 1981 7 SC 73. The Supreme Court of Nigeria decided conclusively that Port Harcourt belongs originally to the Rebisi Ikwerre people. The court ruled that the land in which Port Harcourt was established belonged historically and customarily to the Rebisi clan, a subgroup of the Ikwerre ethnic nationality. The Rebisi people were the original owners and landlords of the land before colonial acquisition by the British government. The government of the Eastern region only acquired Port Harcourt from the Rebisi, not from the Ijaw. Therefore, in law, Port Harcourt is Ikwerre Rebisi land. You see? Which brings us to the second question again. Are Ijaws customary tenants in Rivers State? Here is the answer. Are Ijaw people customary tenants to the Ikwerre? Yes. In this judgment, the Supreme Court held that the Ijaws in Port Harcourt are customary tenants of the Rebisi Ikwerre. The court found that the Ijaw communities living in parts of Port Harcourt were settlers allowed by the Rebisi people to occupy some portions of land. Their occupation was under customary tenancy, meaning they do not own any land absolutely. They owe customary obligations such as tributes or acknowledgements of Rebisi ownership. They cannot lawfully sell the land without the Rebisi consent. Of course, ChatGPT was very plain on this. The Supreme Court specifically held that the respondents are the overlords and the appellants, Ijaws, are customary tenants. What this means today, legally, Ikwerre have superior title over Port Harcourt lands. 2. Ijaw occupation is recognized but not as ownership. Any sale or transfer of lands without Rebisi consent is legally defective. Government compensation for acquisitions in Port Harcourt was due to Ikwerre families. So yes, Ijaws have been asserted to be tenants, which brings us to the second question. Where is Port Harcourt? And what communities and towns make up Port Harcourt? You see, that daft woman could not fathom the fact that Port Harcourt metropolis of today is basically made up of two local government areas, the Obayapo LGA and the Port Harcourt City LGA. You don't believe me? Well, let's also ask any AI. What LGAs makes up Port Harcourt metropolis without talking about expansion? And this is the reply. Without talking about any later expansions or greater metropolitan area, Port Harcourt metropolis originally city area, is made up of just 2 local government areas. 1. Port Harcourt City Local Government Area, Faga. 2. Obiakpo Local Government Area, Obalga. These 2 LGAs together form what is officially and traditionally referred to as Port Harcourt Metropolis. Anything outside Faga and Obiakpo is considered Greater Port Harcourt. So there you have your reply. Not my words. This is from a search engine. Now, let's dive in. These are the towns that makes up Obiakpo LG. Alakahia, Atali, Ada George, Awalama, Choba, Ebelu, Elelenwo, Elibam, Elimbu, Eleparawon, Eliozu, Eneka, Elibolo, Iriebe, Mbuesilara, Mbuoba, Mbuosimini, Mkpakuchi, Mkpa, Mkpelu, Obogoro, Oginiba, Oro Igwe, Orazi, Ozuoba, Rukpakulisi, Rukpoku, Rumadaolu, Rumaholu, Rumalogu, Rumucholu, Rumodara, Rumodogu, Rumekini, Rumekwe, Rumeme, Rumeprikon, Rumesara, Rumewara, Rumibekwe, Rumigbo, Rumkalabo, Rumunduru, Rumobiakani, Rumoba, Rumokparali, Rumolumine, Rumobochi, Rumodumaya, Rumoji, Rumokoro, Rumoku, Rumokwachi, Rumokrosi, Rumola, Rumoluku, Rumomasi, Rumomoi, Rumosi, Rumotu, Rumolo, Rumowaji, Rumowegu, Transamadi, and Woji. Wow, a lot of rumors. These are all 100% Ikwerre towns, and anyone in this region, my sister, is actually in Port Harcourt Metropolis. Now, let's head over to the towns that makes up Port Harcourt City, LGA, which is the major bone of contention. Now, to make it very enlightening and less bogus, let me break it down to Ikwerre towns on this list and Ikwerre towns under Ijaw customary tenancy. Ikwerre towns with no tenants: Ajip, D-Line, Diobu, Eagle Island, Elikahia, Marine Base, New GRA, Mpogo, Oroworuko, Obunabali, Old GRA, Old Port Harcourt Township, Orabali, Orada, Orochiri, Orobum, Orolozu, Oromerezimbu, Oroworuko, Oromenike, Rebisi, Rumukalabo, Rumibekwe, Rumuwoji. Now, remember the Supreme Court ruling declaring no Ijaws in Port Harcourt. Well, going by that logic, below are the Ikwerre towns with Ijaw tenants. 1. Azubiama, Abuloma, Amadiama, Borokiri, Bunduama, Fimiama, Kokoama, Ozubokoama, Teriama, Okorama. So in total, Ikwerre towns that makes up Port Harcourt Metropolis, from Obiakpo LGA down to Port Harcourt City LGA, comes to a total of 90 towns. And the Ikwerre towns that has Ijaw customary tenants are just 10. Even if we go by your own logic, Mrs. Aizon, and say, let's count only the towns in Port Harcourt City LGA, that will still put the number at 25 Ikwerre towns with no Ijaw tenants and 10 Ikwerre towns with Ijaw customary tenants on it. Then again, that buffoon from Bayelsa made mention of Rivers State seat of power. Well, let's ask an AI again, where the Rivers State government house is on, to set the records straight. What ethnic group owns the land which Rivers State government house is on? And this is the reply. The land on which the Rivers State government house is built belongs traditionally to the Rebisi, Diobu, Ikwerre people. Explanation: based on history and court rulings, the area known today as Port Harcourt, including where the government house is located, was originally part of Rebisi, Ikwerre land. So you see, my sister, all your claims are false. And then, I want to ask a very vital question. Who is the paramount ruler of Port Harcourt? You see, the court also ruled in that regard. Port Harcourt has only one paramount ruler, known as the Nyenwale Rebisi. This is a picture of him above. Only the Ikwerres rule Port Harcourt as paramount rulers. So my question to you, my sister, is, if your Ijaw has one plot of land in Port Harcourt, how come only the Ikwerres are always the paramount rulers of Port Harcourt? If you had one plot of land in Port Harcourt like you claim, how come only the Ikwerres are always mayors of Port Harcourt? We dare you to go and become a mayor or install a paramount ruler in that Port Harcourt. Now, going over to the document you presented, as proof that you are co-owners of Port Harcourt? I dare to ask. Did you not present this document in the courts and it was kicked out? Which brings me to the book I wanted to share, known as the Port Harcourt Question, a manifestation of political power vacuum, by N. Nwanodi, Esquire. Chapter 47 has the following from the Supreme Court pronouncement and final judgment. This Supreme Court judgment between the Ikwerre Rebesi and Abloma community is to settle the issue of Okrika villages as raised in 1913 agreement indicated in the map. The judgment clearly states that all those lands in and around the 1913 Port Harcourt Agreement clearly belongs to the Diobo people, Rebesi, for which Ikwerre is part of Diobo, Rebesi. And chapter 18 and 19 of that book allege that Chief Daniel Kalio sold some lands behind the backs of the Rebesi people. Your Ijaw payment you brought as proof was kicked out of court when the case was in court because the Ijaw man in question was the interpreter and intermediary between the Rebesi people and the British and was paid more as such, which the Diobo chiefs later contested, and the British had to pay even far much more. You can find this in chapter 23 of this same book. The whole thing all went down in court and your Ijaws lost massively. Now, my sister, we, the Rivers people, we love you to focus more on Nembe, who are not Ijaws, by the ways, and also focus on Epie, who are also not Ijaws. And this begs the question, where are the Ijaws from and where is their origin? Ijaws are not actually indigenous to Nigeria, like we all know, but came to this region all the way from Cameroon. But this will be a topic for another day. That's if you decide to drag this further. Two can play. As for the Igbo expansionists, I mentioned 90 towns which makes up the present day Port Harcourt. None of those towns was named Igwocha. You can't name Port Harcourt one name, because Port Harcourt is not a village. It is a city with over 100 towns. Each of those towns is independent of the other. And mind you, the whole Ikwerre is not one. The two Ikwerre local government areas that makes up Port Harcourt metropolis has 4 kingdoms within it. Evo Kingdom with towns under it, Apara Kingdom with different towns under it, Akpo Kingdom with different towns and communities under it, and Rebesi Kingdom with different towns and communities under it. So, at one end, we have the Igbo expansionists who have never been to Port Harcourt before. I'm assuming it is one village named Igwocha. And at the other end, we have the Ijaw expansionists who, despite dragging us to court and despite we winning the case in Supreme Court, still turns on camera to spill trash about how they also have a stake in Port Harcourt. These two sets of people, Igbo and Ijaw, are expansionists. Abeg, make una leave Port Harcourt for us. No be we say make una ancestors no get city. Now, take a look at the people claiming to co-own Port Harcourt with us. These tenants in our 10 villages are begging the River State government to recognize their chiefs. Now, let's read together and laugh together. This is from Creekview TV. Now, let's read. His Excellency, Sir Similaye Fubara, Governor of River State, Government House, Port Harcourt, River State, request for recognition of traditional rulers of Ijaw Kings in Port Harcourt. Which one be Ijaw Kings again? Dear Governor Similaye Fubara, we the undesigned representatives of the Ijaw communities in Port Harcourt humbly appeal to Your Excellency to recognize just one traditional ruler who have been the custodian of our culture, traditions, and values for centuries. The Ijaw people have been an integral part of Port Harcourt. So let's just go down. This lack of recognition has resulted in several challenges. So, on I say as they beg, make them recognize just one ruler. They don't have a ruler in Port Harcourt. Only the Ikwerres rule Port Harcourt. How can you be co-owner and you are still begging to be a chief in one of your communities? Isn't this hilarious? How can a tenant want to be a chief to be recognized in our own land? Very hilarious set of people. Again, madam, Bunduama, where Ibeto rented to be doing seaport, is not Ijaw land. It's actually parts of the land Ikwerre won in court. So Bunduama is not Ijaw land. It's not also Igbo land for these two expansionists, Igbo and Ijaw. Supreme Court was very clear and specific as to the owners of these lands. So I indulge you to bring a superior argument. This is the Ikwerre Social Awareness Forum TV, and I remain your host, Watch the Ikwerre. Make sure to follow, subscribe, and give us a repost. And for those who love what we do and wish to support us, an account number is displayed up the screen to send your love and support. And lest I forget, I am also Ijaw. My dad is Ijaw, and my mom is Ikwerre. More evidences above. So, peace out.